it's a good opportunity for me to say a few words about this new book, which is called Explaining Civil War, a Rational Choice Approach. We're normally used to viewing wars as something which occurs between countries or between nation states, and this is the sort of rationale behind the founding of the United Nations and the various mechanisms there. But nowadays most wars occur within countries. They're like civil wars within a country, and they occur mostly in poor developing countries. So because of the poverty of these countries, civil war is also a factor which leads to the perpetuation of poverty. In fact, it leads to a kind of vicious cycle of perhaps the poverty contributing towards the causes of civil wars, and civil wars also perpetuating poverty. Now, in the so-called rational choice approach towards conflict, which tries to reduce the causes of conflict to a few factors, there are two explanations which gained currency in recent years. One was the greed explanation, which is mainly to do with countries that have lootable natural resources like oil or gas. So there's this greedy aspect of trying to control them, and then people fall out over them, and sometimes it can descend into civil war. But there's also the more rational or more intuitive view that grievances, particularly differences between groups, can cause conflict and occasionally civil war. My argument over here is that all of it has to be seen in the backdrop of countries failing to grow, that is, countries failing to develop, failing to grow richer and thereby solve their poverty problems. This creates the preconditions which cause war. Whether that's caused by greed, where there are valuable natural resources to try and control, or by grievance because of the differences between groups, and some groups feeling that they are short of all the benefits that society and government can bring them, is immaterial, except in the context of growth failure, and above all, what I emphasize in the book is failure of institutions to peacefully resolve disputes. These institutions have a political as well as economic dimension. The political dimension is to do with things like federalism, democracy, and decentralization. The economic aspect has to do with the sharing of revenues, as well as how public goods are financed and who gets to benefit from them. Things like social security, expenditure in health and education, etc. I also discuss why peace treaties are so unstable, because there are a lot of attempts to end civil wars, a lot of interventions to end civil wars in developing countries. I also look at post-conflict reconstruction. There's a lot of interest in that, and there I also am skeptical about some of the efforts of donors and development of NGOs. They do a very good job, but they can somehow retard state formation and the ability of the state to resume its activities in some cases, not all. Finally, I also look at something else called the liberal peace, which is the idea that democracy as well as other aspects of globalization should reduce the incidence of civil war as we live in a globalized world. Now this, of course, is a double-edged sword, because in the beginning globalization can produce conflict, but sustained conflict cannot allow a country to benefit from globalization entirely. So the proof is in the pudding, so I encourage you to take a look. Thank you very much.